And now, ladies and gentlemen, in Group C of competition for Valorant, please welcome the starting lineups. As the 6th seed, please welcome to the stage Converse University, Arctic, Icy, Wildfire, Blitz, and Conches. And now, their opponents, the 11th seed, and the first ever all-female team to compete at the CECC, Carleton University FE. Equinoctium, Tranquil, OK Tina, Hans, and Apple. Now, welcome back to the stage to facilitate the pre-match showdown, your host, Paulie Height.
Woo! All right, let's go. It's time here, our first matchup of the event. Any final words before we get things started to your competitors?
Hey, good luck, have fun.
All right, good luck, have fun. Man of class, I like that. All right, over here. Any last words to your competitors? Anything you want to say? No, let's go, give me something.
Let's go, FE!
All right, Carleton FE on the building. I like that. Energy high this morning. Let's get the first match of the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup underway.
Everybody at home or otherwise, I'm Catinator, that's Ash Gas. We are so excited to kick off the Collegiate Esports Commissioner Cup right here in Arlington, Texas. Ash, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm really excited to see what's going to go down here because we've got Carleton FE coming in here from their bid with Padia, and they're the underdogs. This is already mentioned, and I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup to see how they actually fare up against these other open collegiate teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know better than anybody, covering that matchmaking season so exquisitely. This team, coming from Canada, the first all-female roster, heard that on the PA a moment ago as they got announced. Incredibly excited to be here, and got a chance to talk to Octina the IGL just a little bit via Twitter DM last night, and she said for them this is really a celebration of what they've accomplished so far, right? The fact that they're here, the fact that they're able to represent this community and represent the country as well, right? Canada coming to an event like this is really big for them, and the fact they can get this LAN experience going to be absolutely insane. It's the first real big LAN for this roster and a chance to really showcase what they're able to do. And with that, we talk about a roster like Converse, right? The higher seed in this matchup.
Yep.
Talk about how much LAN experience this team already has under their belt.
It's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be uphill going into this first matchup for Group C. But this team in Carleton FE also took up the #1 seed within the female scene in collegiate, right? That being UH Scarlet was the team looking toward actually winning the entire PDA thing. That was the prediction. And Carleton FE kind of just rose to the occasion and worked really, really hard, getting some support from their varsity team as well on Carleton.
Yeah, Jackler coming in from that varsity team, as you mentioned, a team that is in the final 32 CVAL bracket, an event that kicks off today as well. Ironically, a couple teams here know all about that. A couple practice rooms in the back for them when it comes to later today when those matches kick off. But yeah, a player coming over, willing to coach this team. They talked about the fact that they beat UH Scarlet because they had so much VOD review, so much practice going into it, a team that was willing to put in the work. And then add that into the fact that Jackler was willing to come through and to give this team that extra bit of leverage, right? So Carleton, a team that's in the final 33 bracket, a team that's seen a lot of the rosters that are actually at this event today. So having all that extra information and already the determination in the prep and the willingness to do the work could lead them very far in this bracket.
It definitely could, but we've also got to watch out on those roster changes with Carleton or Converse Purple, because you've got Blitz and Arctic coming in as players who are on the roster when they won their bid over in Peach Belt, but that's not the core team that we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the roster that qualified last semester out of the Peach Belt Conference. With that being said, is playing with last semester's roster, right? So Buda and Puffin have been stepping in this semester, but they're not playing here this weekend. So instead, we're looking at a team that hasn't competed since December 11th of last year as a roster together. So while Converse is a school that's been to plenty of lands, whether it be the Stay Unplugged Campus Series in Wake Forest University, whether it be HyperX Spike Drop in Las Vegas, this team's still going to be a little bit at odds here in this one. But as it goes to the map pick and ban, look at Carleton playing a map they played incredibly well throughout Padia. They'll start on Lotus. We'll go to an all too familiar map of Ascent. And if we get there, which I sure hope we do, will be a heck of a way to kick off what will be a fantastic weekend. It'll be Fracture to close the deal.
Ooh, really interesting map pool that we're actually seeing coming out. Lotus is very rarely a first map pick, but I like the idea that Carleton's FE's going with it in this situation, because with Lotus, you've got the fact that this could be very much a sleeper pick in that sense, where it's not necessarily a map that a lot of teams are super confident on. You've got very few within the collegiate scene who actually have the ability to show up on that map, who have actually dedicated that scrim time very specifically to just tightening up their team there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to things, right, Bind just recently getting back into the map pool over Icebox, it makes sense to be the first ban. We talked to Carleton, a team that said travel was nerve-wracking for them, a team coming from Canada, first time for a lot of them being in America. The stress was in just trying to make it to the event in the first place. So it makes a lot of sense that maybe Bind isn't fully prepped just yet, being that newer map. So get it out of the way first. Split a map that takes an incredible amount of synergy. We're talking about Converse, a roster that is bringing 2 players back into the mix from last semester. Makes sense for them to play what's going to be a little bit more comfortable. I think Lotus will be a bit interesting. I think Carleton have a massive edge going to this one, being a roster that has played through that entire matchmaking season together. Ascent will go either way, and then Fracture, I think, the same story.
Definitely agree with you there. It's going to be interesting to see how Lotus pans out. I feel like that's essentially a must-win for Carleton FE to try to take this series over Converse Purple. But with the Converse Purple team, I feel like they just have so much experience that they're definitely the ones to look to win this. Honestly, expecting a bit of a 2-0, but I'm confident that these Carleton girls could actually make the series close, because this is about the experience for them. This is about showing up and proving that women and non-binary players can compete at this level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So pressure on their shoulders to represent, but I think they've done so very well already being here in the first place. A team that's also double dipping today. They're going to play their 2 GSL games, but they're also going to play Padia Cup Finals, the show matches, in the middle of the day. So a squad that has their hands full, that also means double the prep, right? Because they have to see either that UA Scarlet team or the opposing roster, depending on who ends up making it through into that final. And then let's talk a little bit about the format while we have a couple seconds here. So looking at GSL group stage coming through, right, means 2 players going out of each group. Coming into Group C, that's Oklahoma Christian, Converse, Carleton Female, and Army West Point. Collegiate Val Hub, kind of our bread and butter when it comes to what to expect in Collegiate Valorant, right? Predicting Oklahoma Christian, the Converse, the 2 top seeds coming out, but hey, you never know. It's why we play the games.
That is so true, and it's just a lot of the teams here haven't had the chance to play each other in a while as well. Being split up by regional events, a lot of these teams, whether you're north, west, east, south, are going to be going to head for maybe even the first time going for this semester.
Yeah, absolutely. So we start the day here onto Lotus in Group C. Best of 3s all the way through. Giving it an all when it comes to our series. 3 maps to do it. No best of 1 shenanigans, and of course double elim. So a second chance when it comes to it. No real pressure in this series, but getting a first win means everything.
Definitely does. You've got to start hot. You can't have a slow start here in the group stage. What is nice about GSL, though, is being that double elimination, like group stage bracket, is you have the opportunity to come back into that lower finals.
Yeah. Absolutely. Got a chance to make it into the lower bracket, to still have a run, and to still come out of things. Map 1 on its way. Lotus up first. Let's head to Agent Select and kick this thing off.
Whew, okay, Agent Select. We've already got started with a couple lock-ins on the side of Carleton FE. Pretty standard as far as a Lotus composition goes. I know that the meta is still being a bit figured out here onto this map, but looking like a mirror matchup to kick things off. I'm surprised that we're actually not seeing a breach maybe on either team for that aiming control.
Yeah, this is a bit of debate for a minute. The fact that how versatile is Sky really on Lotus? Like, with these deep angles, can you get flashes in? I think Trailblazer has immense value in clearing those close angles, especially with the fact that that stun's going to come through if you do find players close into sight, at least on the offensive or the retake end. Hey, whatever works, whatever you're comfortable, especially at an event like this. So we don't see anything too crazy when it comes to harbors, anything like that. We'll get a Viper Omen on both sides, so double Conti is going to come out, but things pretty mirror match for the most part. Only real difference going to be those duelists.
Yeah, the duelists, I mean, Ganch is on the raise. You cannot deny him on this agent, but with Ganches, there's also sometimes the risk of overheating.
Okay.
I remember, especially last year, there was a bit of trouble with that, but I know that CVU has been working really hard since then, really tightening things up, being a bit more disciplined in that kind of sense. But once Ganches has all cylinders firing, there's really no stopping him.
Absolutely, and as we come out of that Xbox Game Pass Agent Select, check out Xbox Game Pass. It will unlock all of the Valorant agents. So this agent, you want to try new agents when they come out. Gecko, the newest agent, you can pick up those agents just with Xbox Game Pass without having to unlock them via the contract or via those Riot points. But let's kick it off. Map number 1 on the way of what will be quite the weekend of action. And it will be a lookup route up first in round number 1. Is that Trailblazer?
A lot of information given over, but I do wonder if Carleton FE has noticed that the KJ setup is over towards that A side. We are going to see continued pressure into this A link towards B, but right now, Carleton playing really split up. Can't even really trade each other in these positions if that first point of contact does come through, and that's Wildfire with the first.
The second immediately followed by Ganches when it comes to this mound defensive position. Throw pain shields and gonna catch the door player. Tranquil will fall, and that's 3 opening picks now for the Converse side.
2v5 here, and in a pistol round, you still gotta see what you can get. It's gonna be a re-clear here in towards Rubble, but with that guiding light thrown out, that's already a green light here for Converse to make the rotation over. You gotta worry about this KJ util.
Coming in first. Nanoswarm dealt with. They've got some room here. About 20 seconds for a plant. Transfer skills going to come down. We'll find Wildfire in the back of the site. They've got some room, but being pinched on so incredibly fast. Look down, overlook. Blitz going to pick up one. A trade back from the opposing. Oh, man, looking for the right click. That is a knife from Icy to seal off the pistol round.
They're just gonna close that out in style, but okay, going into this next eco, you're gonna have to see Carleton trying to do as much damage as possible here over towards CVU. See if they can take some of these weapons out of their hands going into the bonus rounds, maybe playing more for numbers because they were very split up in that default, not even really playing in pairs for the most part.
Turret out.
Yeah, and those initial 1v1s definitely not going their way. Two initial picks going for Converse, and that pretty much sealed the round before it could really get started. Supposing guiding lights here early. It'll be a fight for Mount. Ganch is absolutely tearing it up right now. 3 with the Guardian. Blitz will pick up 1 as well. That's just left the Killjoy now. Late lurk of Tranquil. The last standing and attacker Swan. A swing on its way. Wildfire will close it up. Every gun going to the bonus.
Flawless round to come through here for CVU Purple, and that's a deadly one-way, right? Yeah. It's right there. Barrier drops, and you don't really have an opportunity to scale back. Almost if you full commit right at the beginning of the round, gets thrown down, and an early peek to come through. But Rifle's now into the hands of Carleton FE, and They're going for the light shield buy strategy, try to stretch that money a little bit further into the later rounds.
Yeah, something we see more and more of, I feel, as the days go by. Gaunt's looking to get involved in this round yet again. The Guardian will find its mark. First pill picked up, and Arctic will grab all the rest. The 3K for the Sky, and yet again, just Tranquil remaining.
Yeah, really fast starts here for CEVU. Just taking that aggression, using the Sky utility to assist and taking that rebel control for Gauntches. But there's really not too much Tranquil can do in this situation. They got a whole minute on the clock, not even an opportunity to save this weapon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, save looks pretty dire. Notor can be converted here at the very least. Doors open now. Okay, hold on a minute. So 1v1 picked up from Tranquil. We'll take the opposing Killjoy, and the chance to make this one possible. 2 players in attacker spawn right now, 1 towards B. Room to work with if you can find it. Arctic, unfortunately, will find the pick first. So the first 3, the final for 4, and it's a 3-0 scoreline.
I really like how Converse took advantage of the space given up there. Those initial picks towards Rebel, and then just maintaining that aiming control really helps in just having the read. And then they were just able to swarm around, unfortunately. But a 3-0 start here for the side of Converse. Finally a full loadout into their hands as well. Gancha's already only 1 away from that showstopper.
Yeah, and Gancha's a player that has not been slow at the start of these rounds. They'll put a rocket in their hand, a group up from Carleton, who knows what'll happen. Gancha's yet again will start to scale up towards Rebel. This toxic screen coming down for conditioning will give them all that early root control yet again. So they've got space almost immediately to work with in this round. Firefight early into it, no picks out just yet, and
we're back.
yeah, so nothing
we're
caught
good
off that early fight, but it is enough to force this Carleton team away from A. So that early pressure, really talking a lot early in these couple of rounds, right? And then we're working into all this Killjoy utility on the other side of the map.
But look at this pressure already. Straight walked up through that A main side, and Carleton, due to how they're kind of being picked apart in the first 3 rounds, trying to stick together now. Wildfire for 2, and still looking here towards the SC side.
Ice now gonna take Wildfire's spot. We'll find 2 more. Apple a trade. A 1-on-3 now the story. Work up the bend to sight. Oh, didn't quite see the barrel, so isn't going to get the info on the Omen waterfall. All 3 players now to the C site. A free spawn for the taking when it comes to the defender side of the map. 25 seconds still to work with. This wrap works unless they get caught Link, and that they do. Blitz will be there first. It's 4-0 to start out the tournament.
Really, really fast start here for the side of CVU, and a tough road to honestly already start climbing. Sure, there's a lot of more rounds in this half, but you're now stuck in the situation of that back and forth with your economy. You're going to be between those saves and buys. I do think that going at the light shield strategy in that kind of sense does definitely help bolster your money into the mid to the late half, but at the same time, you're still stuck and trying to break that cycle. And again, constant A main control here for Converse.
I mean, you really got to give credit to the way this defense plays so offensively to start each round, right? This time, Toxic Screen will go away from Rebel, will head instead to Mound, but it's splitting off the half of Mound so that the Viper can easily control directly in front of what is the Killjoy utility. And then there's all this extra pressure with the one-way, the guiding light, Gonchus up Rebel, that you can't take any space at the start of the rounds if you're the Carleton Ravens.
You definitely can't. It makes it really difficult to try and find that space to try and make a play. It's a minute left on the clock here. Carleton, first look, a lot of damage done over towards Icy. They're going to have to back off, play their life.
Wildfire gonna take early switch. We'll throw the snake bite. Everybody fragile. 3 kills converted for Wildfire. Apple will trade 1 back. But is it too little too late in the round? A 2-on-4 scenario with 40 to go.
Yeah, and also potentially looking towards the C side here. You got the KJ switching things up, and that's a bit of a concern because now Nanos to completely delay. You've got 2 on site as well. It's not looking good here for Carleton.
Yeah, swarm broken. 20 seconds here. 2 players onto the site. Only 1 way to go. as the second nano's popped. 15 the story now. Paranoia in tow. Hasn't been thrown just yet by Aqua. Ice will take the first and a swing for the second as well. 5-0, and now your score.
Tough to try and come back now for Carleton for sure. Definitely still opportunity to do so, but I'd really like to see them maybe not necessarily going for those five-person pushes. I know we saw a very, very split default and then regrouping, trying to play together, but at the same time, that also just plays into the way that CVU is playing their defense too, with the space that they are taking. But it's tough because trying to contest Gonches also in towards Rebel hasn't worked out, despite utility even being thrown at as well.
Yeah, and while we get this first time out here, I think it's dire I point out the scoreboard for Converse. And a clean 7-6, 5-4-3. The countdown on its way. Always gorgeous to see. But yeah, the defensive hold has been so incredibly strong for Converse. And that's scary when you consider whose map it is.
Yeah. This was the map that we said that if Carleton FC team wanted to have a chance up against Converse, they would have to win this map out. It's a must. And right now, it's just not looking too great. Again, potential for that redemption arc, at least into the lower bracket. Still just group stages, right? First matchup of the day. Everyone's still warming up, but you cannot deny how hot Converse look right now.
Yeah, look incredibly at home. Making the trip to Texas and looking like they own the place as it currently stands. A slower scale from Carleton into this gun round. Makes a lot of sense. Been a lot of early space picked up by Converse. It's kind of a poke and prod to feel how far are they playing as defensive hold now. They've been incredibly capable of walking forward. Well, if we're going to have this first contact, saw Tina on the cross, that lead to a dark cover coming their way. As now that pick's going to be had. Goncha's going to find the wobbing onto Apple. And yet again, it's a much slower scale this round for Converse, but just as effective, going to find the first two picks. It's Carleton working what they can now into the A site, which is yet again the Killjoy funnel for the new setup.
The read is just so good coming out from Converse as well. The way that they are shuffling Icy around in this situation, to try and find the opportunity to delay. And to be fair, Carleton, they have been kind of going back and forth over on the map. Lockdown invested into this round as well.
Trade coming through early. A lot of the Killjoy util broken down, but that lockdown, as mentioned, should give them the key into the side stun. Just that. It's a hold on a drop for just a moment. There's space here. Who knows? Need a little bit more room here. Trade gonna find the first big flank. Pick gonna get picked up. There's the first. Arctic a trade on site. A 1v2.
Not planning for you.
Down on Spike. Paranoid to try to get back into this one. Trailblazer not going to find any information. That guiding light will reconfirm, though. Peek for Arctic has the frag. Converse 6-0.
Closest round that Carleton has been able to find for themselves, though, so far. And 1v2 situation, honestly, it's just tough to try and divide them up in that. Find those 1v1s, because you know that for the side of CVU, they are going to be playing together. They are going to ensure that they are going for those double swings, not going to let you get away with those 1v1s. Going into this next round, back onto a bye here for the side of Carleton. But you also got to look at the ultimates already. Invested. It's 4 online here for the side of CVU. 1 away for Blitz as well. But Carleton, they do have some utility to work with, mainly looking towards those Seekers in the hands of Hans to try and bring out a bit of more information to go off of for these site executions.
Yeah, and a pit as well for post-plan. If they can just get to site, a very heavy hand to try to convert this round. Actina will punch first. That gives them room to work with. Goncha Showstopper online will come down main. Nothing spotted, though, when it comes to B. And Actina will find a second. First 2 picks for the IGL. And now Carleton, a lot of room to work with. We'll take the talents today, see what they can find. It's Icy back a sight for now. Lockdown going to shut this push entirely.
gonna have to shuffle away though. That's the nice thing about Lotus. You got the breakable door in towards A link and all funneling in. The read is good, of course, from CVU, but Carleton, they're looking with the advantage this time around. Just a question of if you can keep it. This is terrifying. Over around the corner, all grouped up here on the side of Carleton. CVU clean up for 6-0.
It's always the hard part, right? The decision of, do we take extra space or do we hold what we have on the post? In that situation, Carleton popped the pit. I think there's an awkward miscomm there of, are we going to take the extra space overlook or are we going to chill on site in this pit? So pit came down pretty much after that initial push had been snuffed, and I think a couple more seconds you probably keep that ult online, but unfortunately look for that extra space, try to get that massive advantage going into your post plan, and it worked completely against them. Blitz picks up 2, and it's an easy retake.
I mean, I really like the idea coming out from Carleton FE, trying to find that space into that B window situation, but it was that paranoia that just denied. And now going into the next round here, again, looking for that rubble control, and every single time, it's the paint shells here for Gonches that find so much success.
Actino was able to find 2 picks in round number 7. In round 8, it's Gonches back to the heavy hand. Wildfire going to pick up 1 off of Mountain. Tranquil will have a trade. There's a 2-on-1 advantage here. Killjoy setup slightly changes that. It's allowed to be 2 players until that util is expended, which it will be now. Trailblazer will confirm their location on the back of the site. And that door going to stall Carleton out here. Splits will find the first. Gonches right in tow. Hans in a 1v3, an awkward scenario, and Ice will shut it down quickly. 8-0, and now the scoreline.
It's a little bit difficult. I think what I really want to see is, I mean, it's tough because I think mechanically also CVU are just coming out on top in this situation right now, and it's a little bit difficult to try and combat that. You know, Carleton, they are still trying to go for swings with each other, but the real big thing is I do think that Carleton can find success into Rubble. They have previously. It's just about waiting for that timing, knowing that Gonches is going to expend that utility, delaying your push in, and then taking the space. And this time, that's exactly what Carleton are going to do.
Yep, exactly. Aqua have a nice look through the screen as well. That'll pick up Arctic early. I think on top of the fact that stalling for when that util comes out, the fact that it's consistently different util as well. We've seen the Killjoy ping-ponging between the C and the A site, so it's still difficult to predict where that util is going to be because the conditioning from the defensive end of things is consistently changing, but good stuff in round 6 to try to combat it, and now good stuff here in round 9 once again. As Tina had the first 2 picks, and now the first pick going to be converted by Aqua. Tranquil will pick up Gonches. Looking pretty good right now, and they're going to catch that overheat early out of A main.
I love the passive play coming out from CU, knowing that CVU are going to try and take that space, but you've got to watch out for this corner. Is anyone going to clear it? Running Knives out right now. Tranquil at least gets the 3rd.
Very nice. Tranquil able to shut down the flank, and now will go just a step forward to push her team into the A site. Plant's going to come down. A 1-on-4 post plant. Hey, anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but CU, they're playing together here. You got 3 into the tree room and then 1 waiting just outside of Rubble, watching the cross from stairs. The second that IC does cross over CU, they're going to know.
Great screen. Forces Ice to really push through this without any sort of information. They'll step forward now. Wildfire will have a decent cross and won't even need it. Apple gonna pick it up as easy as it comes. Carleton on the board.
Sometimes that's all you need, but at the very least, getting the first round, giving a little bit more momentum over towards the side of Carleton. It's now a question of if they can keep it rolling as this half does come to a close in about 2 rounds here, this being the second to the last. And looking over at that ult economy here, once again, we do have the lockdown to look towards here for Tranquil. Didn't find too much success for CUFE the previous time, but you've also got to be concerned. Wildfire does have the Viper's Pit online for that post-plant retake.
Bit more aggressive scale this round for Converse. The screen will go towards Rubble as well. Just Gonches going to be the one to push forward. And we'll see if they extend into lobby yet again. The big factor in the last round was those 2 Tranquil picks, and this time they will not. They'll start the early pressure, they'll pull off, and you see how that's moved the Carleton offensive as Ice going to pick up the first.
Ooh, but pressure negated now, still going to retake that space, not over-aggressing, but now Carleton lean over towards the C side. And the read, good. Once again, I feel like Icy's always at the site that they do want to end towards. Sure, a minute left though, still pretty non-committal. You've got that lockdown coming out here towards B. Pit's not going to be popped, but honestly, I feel like the B side is a really, really nice site for the defenders to use that on that retake, because you can get it out pretty cleanly to cover that spike, take that space, and force Carleton off.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if that's the case here, and it will be. Ain't nothing better than calling it and seeing it seconds later. So Pitt's gonna come in for the retake here. We'll get the from the shadows as well. That one's gonna go behind, try to pinch this Carleton team in to the
I love this spot.
the brief space they have right now. Tina, great angle. And that Viper right in front, a chance to shut the Pit down. Will convert the kill, but the rest of Converse has found everything off camera. It's the 9th round converted post the defuse.
It's a little bit difficult there. Okay, Tina doing the most that she possibly could, but unfortunately the rest of Carleton just weren't able to find that space, had to fall back, and CVU just swarm around. Again, always with that consistent A main pressure, that A main control is a thorn in the side of Carleton, and now we're already going into the second before the last round of the half. 2 more to go. And you don't want to see CVU. If you're Carleton hitting double digits early, you want to stop that now. Try to get to 3.
Absolutely. I'll look for the 9-3 here. Any round counts, any round helps. Goes without saying. Aqua's stuck on the Sheriff into this round. They've bought what they could. An early pick will net them a rifle as long as they're able to recover. We'll look for 3 yet again on to see. I'll go look at that guiding light as well. One's going to come over the wall for Mound. If they do manage to breach this one way, and seen Converse play the scale just a little bit slower here. I've also like the fact that Aqua, knowing they just had that Sheriff, are a bit more expendable and are taking the extra space early A to see where this defense presence currently is.
But I feel like at this point, having that piece of information lurking up, what's really nice about Icy's setups is that they throw the turret really far back. You can't hear it early on, so that just denies a bit of that information. So although this lurk up is going to work out really nicely, not going through tree, going to hit those nanos, there's just still so much util to delay.
Yep.
And is it actually going to be a plant? Look at the space that OK Tina is taking.
You've seen him look for early space before. And Wildfire going to look to shut it down early. A lockdown going to come through. That'll cover the expanse of sight for Carleton to be able to step into. So Converse going to take the space off the lockdown. Gonch is going to pick up 1. All ready to spike. Nano Swarm activated. Gonch is a second. Picked up on the entry. It's a 2-on-4 when that initial dust does settle. Caught behind the dark cover as Tranquil has a peek for the diffuser. Ice will come off. Will find the frag. Gonches will find the last. It's 10-1.
Unfortunately, Snakebite not quite landing. I do like that we saw the Nanoswarm being popped early on that lockdown with the defenders pushing back in there on Converse purple. But now we're going into the last round before we swap sides, right? Already double digits here for CVU, and this is an important potential swing around for Carleton, right? You stop it at 10. And if you can earn the pistol, you just start to try to close that gap on the next half. But if CVU hit 11, they could close things out off the pistol round.
Yep. A solid pistol guarantees an economic advantage, and yeah, certainly could be a quick close. So a round that you very much want to win here, but a pistol round, incredibly favorable for the Ravens to pick up. A slower start into this one offensively yet again. Converse has been a bit slower to scale as well. We'll throw an additional one-way over towards Ace. That second dark cover going to come through. I don't expect them to scale lobby.
No, it's just a bit of pressure, just finding that information, plus the alarm bot just gives that additional info over. You have a very passive turret to watch that A main push, but the alarm bot just denies that and provides a bit of space over towards CU where they don't have to dedicate a body towards it. but we're under a minute on the clock now, and Spike rotating towards this A side. And CVU have not given up Rubble. You got a showstopper in hand for Gonches right now, too. I would be terrified.
Yeah, this is a dangerous one. Paranoia's going to come through. And they've opted not to scale. So 30 seconds left in this one. Another dark cover expended. This pulled the Omen over as well. So we're at the least defended site right now, but all the Killjoy utility still going to remain standing on their way into this one.
Dash in here, though, Cat taking the space. It's all Icy to defend with the first.
It's all Icy, and they're cold for the first. This team is going to fall. 10 seconds here. Our plant has to go down. It's bangable if Ice can find it. Looking to spam the open space, so Aqua has managed to pick it up, and Shroud has stepped away. Looking for the coverage now. One player, the disadvantage here for the Carleton post plant. Everything looking to come out of CT. Trailblazer will lead the door. Gotch's showstopper. You said it was scary.
No!
Gonna pick up two. Gotch is traded by Tranquil, who now has everything on their shoulders. A third can't find anything else. Arctic will send it away. We head to the half at 11-1.
What a play coming out from Tranquil, though. You cannot deny getting 3 in that situation. Essentially a 1v5 is massive for the team, but just not quite enough, unfortunately. Swapping sides now here. You're going to see the defense for the side of Carleton FE. Converse Purple now on the attack, and everything lies on the pistol round.
That it does. All ones right now when it comes to score lines. And this one round is so incredibly important. Converse able to take the first, and naturally the second to go with it. They take the second pistol. You almost expect them to take that round after and close out map number 1. The pressure rides on the Fadia Cup bid qualifiers right now.
At the very least, still a best-of-3 series, right? So we're not done after this. But early Guiding Light finds that there is going to be an early peak coming out from CUFE, scaling back now with the one-way thrown by Converse, forcing that angle off. And look at the lurk up, using the toxic screen over towards that A side. So much space found.
Wildfire Classic going to pick up Apple early. The Viper util now expended for the rest of this crucial round. Tranquil out, going to trade one back, but caught by the rest of the team for Converse. The Valks will make their way into the A site. Plant's on its way.
Plant to be landed here by Gonches. Investment into the showstopper, and now heading into the post-plant situation here for Converse. Okay, Tina and the side of Hans are trying to find something over towards stairs. Really nice pick coming out from Icy. We're looking at a 2v3 situation, but Hans looking super low.
Kind of gonna come through, trying to open the door. Hans going to pick up the first. 2-on-2 now. Ice will make it a 2-on-1. Hans will shoot back. 24 HP on Spike. Wildfire out, and the Classic will close the deal. It's match point here for Converse.
Converse looking really good right now. The adaptations have been great over on their defender side. And looking at the attack, I mean, CU, they're still keeping some rounds really close, though. I feel like that does tell you that these female teams are leveling up to be able to face up against these open teams. And that's what I love about this opportunity for Carleton, is the fact that they're able to show up, get this experience, and just continue to level up their skill set and grow overall. But you've got to force up with everything that you got here if you're Carleton. An aggressive play now coming out here into Mount.
Stinger can be deadly up close. Hans will show us why. We'll pick up one. It's 2 trades back to the direction, though, for Converse. A player advantage now, and a full map swing will head to the A site. Just a Killjoy turret in the wake.
Yeah, toxic screen to provide you all the cover you could possibly need. CU electing to stick together for the most part over towards that B side. Otherwise, still playing kind of solo, split up, hoping to see them regroup later on. Look at this hold, though, coming from Converse. They're expecting a peek maybe out from stairs, knowing that time's just run down, and at this point, CU probably going to gamble that it is going to be that A-side push with a lack of contact elsewhere on the map, but they're legitimately just holding for the peak, for the jiggle, anything that Carleton might give them.
Now the cue for the set piece. With 35 to go, we'll start the descent onto the side. Tranquil looking for a crucial Marshall frag. Couldn't pick it up. Wildfire will take it through the wall. And now it's a 2-on-4. A player stare, a player overlook, a player overlook. Aqua caught stare early by Ice. A 1-on-4 for Apple. Stinger in hand. Wildfire on the swing. Nails the one tap. It's Converse 13-1 to open up the event.
13-1 Lotus on Carleton FE's map pick too. And I mean, we knew that Converse was probably going to be the one to win it out. Their defender side looked really, really good. And you can't deny overall just the success they were able to find. Tranquil, the main player to be standing up here for Carleton up against this Converse team, 13-13 here on the scoreboard. But the synergy, I feel like, coming out from Converse was just unbeatable in that last match.
Yeah, I mean, everyone showing up. Wildfire was 16, Icy was 16, Ganches with 14, and Blitz and Arctic all above 10 as well. Everybody a positive KD, and 11 assists Yeoman leaves the game with.
Yeah, for Blitz especially. And that's kind of nice how you see these players still slotting in together really easily, considering the fact that they've had a break from playing with each other, that, you know, Blitz and Arctic aren't on the current running roster there for Converse, but their chemistry hasn't died out.
Yeah, to be players stepping back in from last semester, and the fact that they still are able to throw such consistent utility is quite impressive. The fact that they have to be so committed to the set piece has really showed some value. Blitz was last semester's IGL. Not sure if he's IGLing back into this event, but if he is, wow. Right? Because that team defensively, the way they were able to consistently read, the allocation of resources, and just the defensive presence was phenomenal from a player getting back into it.
I mean, even if not IGLing, I feel like being previously the IGL for this team too, Blitz just provides a lot of value in that sense, with likely having a strong voice for the team, good mid-rounding, assisting with the reads that we see coming down, and just overall setting up plays, especially with the paranoia.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about that team defensively, the fact that they are consistently having control with that toxic screen initially, shutting off looks towards Rubble, shutting off looks towards Mound, and then the fact that when they do not have a strong offensive presence defensively, they're right back into sight with a Killjoy setup.
Yep. It was just impeccable reads overall. Even when you look at Icy specifically, the reads for the Killjoy, just throwing that across the map. For a bit, Carleton was kind of just, okay, let's test out each site. I think Converse definitely got the read in that situation. But overall, it felt like almost like 90% of the time, Icy was where they were trying to end. And that KJ util usually survived into the late round, which is why I do think Carleton struggled a little bit, especially earlier on in the half, with trying to get that utilized out early.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of those rounds, right, where we're getting late Carleton FE executes, and those nail scores you mentioned are getting popped with 20, 25 seconds, really funneling that team, forcing them to have to work towards bend when it comes to the C-type. They're not able to get any room waterfall. You can't get to site box, so you really only have that one avenue of travel. It's just a kill funnel. Right? For the defensive end of things, you're walking directly in to 2 or 3 guns that are able to sit back of sight. And then it's an easy retake as well, right? Because you know exactly where that team's going to be based off the space you allow them defensively. So you really don't even need the info gather coming back into sight, because you never lost the info in the first place.
But I don't want to deny the fact that I think Carleton had really great adjustments into this match. Obviously, we didn't get to see too much from the defender side, but on the attack, they were switching things up. They were slowing down their pace and trying to switch up their tempo, the kinds of lurks, the positioning, even the utility to take that space that Tranquil is using with that alarm bot, especially usually towards that B side, to deny any information there from the side of CVU. But CVU, they were just quick on their feet. It was like they had an answer to every adaptation that Carleton were trying to throw at them, including the fact that, you know, Gonches and I believe that was also Arctic, taking that space in towards Rubble, usually getting too aggressive. But once Carleton started pulling back, playing a bit more passive, waiting for that push to come out, they also pulled back. They would go for it, and then they wouldn't feed into the hold that Carleton were having into their attacker side spawn.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and throw things over to Los and the crew on the desk to break it down a bit further.
What a beginning that first map was, 13-1. Converse University coming out swinging, and I'm incredibly excited to see the development of this team, both of these teams, honestly, as we go throughout the rest of this series. But I want to talk first about Carleton, because Gompers and Artie, you've seen them in the Paydia Cup. What were the expectations you were having for this team coming into this event?
Yeah, I mean, with expectations, I'm not going to lie to you, I really was expecting something bigger coming through from Carleton. I feel like right there, it was just one of those moments where they were having a hard time really figuring out what was going on with their own gameplay. So, I mean, there was that moment where they didn't feel as confident as they should have. It really did feel like Converse was pushing them back, pushing their confidence down towards a level that they didn't want it to end up towards. And it really led them in a position where they were struggling to get out of that hole. And I mean, not a lot of people have experience at LAN. You see Gonches, I've seen him at LAN before. He's a demon. You saw that raise live. Like, that is not something you see every day.
My experience from the Paydia Cup, apologies, one moment. I'm expecting, going into this next matchup at least, to see the side of Carleton force the pace into what they want more. Originally, when we were watching Paydia, actually, they had a couple sick players and were not even at the top of their game. So I know that a LAN experience can be really overwhelming sometimes, but despite that, I have faith in their ability to actually take over control a little bit more in this next matchup, and actually, instead of being led into the tempo of the other team, creating their own tempo control, changing up as they see necessary, and I think kind of the nerves that we saw on Lotus will be gone.
Yeah, and speaking of tempo, I definitely want to talk about the first 20 seconds of the map, which I feel, or 20 seconds of each round, which I felt decided the pace of the round. Chixa, I want to get a little bit of an understanding of what the heck were Converse doing in those first 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting some sort of rebound that was needed on the side of Converse from Carleton's duelist. But I watched Tina match after match after match, and as that duelist role, she just wasn't getting upfield and using her util. So Converse didn't really need to have that counterattack to Tina. They were instead pushing their own tempo with their duelist in Gonches, who has had that experience, who we've said time and time again does so well on the field. So them really utilizing that duelist role to get those kills early on, or even have that retake that we were saying that was so well, really, I think, gave Converse the advantage at the end of the day.
I want to talk about moments of advantage, though, where we had Carleton get onto site, get that post plant, but unfortunately things didn't seem to line up the way they wanted. How were they able to find that strong bit to secure a site? And unfortunately, what was Converse able to do to take it right back? Converse?
Yeah, honestly, it really was Gonches. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, the retakes were spectacular. A lot of the time, Carleton as well, they allow themselves to get first picked because they didn't have any of those outright aggressions. And knowing a team like Converse, you need to pressure them back, or else they're going to pressure you back on that defense. You wait too long, they're sitting down, waiting for their util to be used. They're not going to waste their time rotating when there isn't any information. So they stay put and they trust each other, which is one of the most deadliest things you can have when you want to play that default, when you want to play on the attacking side and wait for that first pick when it never happens in the first place. So a lot of the time it was somebody feeling confident, and that confidence that we didn't see out of Carleton coming through from Converse University. But again, I mean, this team from Converse, you see Gonches, you saw that raise, you saw that showstopper during the one round, not to mention Blitz, something I wanted to talk about during round 10. You saw Blitz using his From the Shadows to push the flank, ended up getting shot down, but valuable information information. 4 players waiting down B main. You know where you need to push, and you know the Vipers left alone down in their own smokes. You can have that.
Beautiful stuff. I mean, look across the board for Converse University. We were talking about Ganches as well as Wildfire coming up as individuals, but across the board, this team has been able to work together with each other, and it is imposing. It is a threatening feeling and a fear-inducing feeling, I would say, potentially for Carleton University. But Artie, I want to know, what do you think needs to be changed? You were talking about adjusting the tempo. What can we see on Ascent that will bring them a better scoreline, a better outcome for Carleton?
So personally, I think going into Ascent, we really want to see a lot more from Carleton, looking for the lane control, so to speak, in that mid zone, where you can either force people to pick a site or force them into your line of sight and give information to your own teammates. With that being said, OK, Tina, and Hans, when they are able to play together, they pop off incredibly, and I'm hoping to see them facilitate one another a little bit more. Apple plays a very good passive style of gameplay and plays more defensive, and it can follow up on any sort of push and attacks onto site and clean up and prevent flanks, but it's a matter of allowing their play styles to take place. But right now, we're going to take a look at round 6 when we had Ice and Blitz creating sort of a pincer play here. After doors went around, we have Gaunts go in, and just the paint shells picking up 2. It was just a matter of utility positioning that ultimately I feel like in this instance allowed Converse to pop off a little bit more. Perhaps it's the map, perhaps it's the LAN, but hopefully we see a little bit more coming out from Carleton in the next round.
I mean, as we did say, end of the day, this is the first LAN experience that Carleton University is taking away, and you know, it can have nerves to start things off, but also at the same time, I believe, as Ash said, this is a beautiful learning experience for the team, and I believe even just one singular map is going to be able to help them learn about themselves, learn about Converse, and Ascent, I believe, will certainly go much, much different than we saw from Lotus.
I mean, considering it's one of the oldest maps in the game, you have a lot of time to experience it. It's kind of one of those perfected maps. I do think it will even out the playing field a little bit more than Lotus does, at least for every team here, in all honesty.
Yeah, I would have to say, if you play Valorant, your team plays Ascent. There's no reason you should be banning that one. But I want to get just final thoughts on what we could potentially see in terms of one tactic I saw from Converse that was just so absolutely beautiful is they were consistently inconsistent with where their players were at. How is that going to, I guess, continue and be a bit of a pain point for Carleton going forward, Converse?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a pain point. I feel like originally it didn't work. I mean, originally it did work against, you know, a team like Carleton University. So, you know, overall, it really is just trying to be inconsistent. A game like Valorant, consistency leads to a weak point because then people get used to it. People understand and people can adapt. So you always want to make sure you're moving yourself around. You're using different utility. You're trying to approach a situation differently as well. And again, Valorant is a hard game. Like, if you're not feeling good one day, you're completely messing up the whole day. And I feel like here, for a team like Carleton, yeah, right now they weren't feeling good. So that really did kind of bring the game down a bit. But I think once you start to really get used to the LAN experience, and once you, okay, you know, we messed up this time, we're not going to mess up again, I really feel like that's going to come through. I think we're going to see something completely different out of Carleton, and I think we owe them our respects this game.
100%. Press F to pay respects. It's important to know that this is a wonderful experience, and we're about to continue it further as we are heading over to the caster desk. Catinator, Ash, take it away for map 2.
Thank you very much, Los. Map 2 on the way. It'll be Ascent, much more familiar map to those of you here and at home as well. America's favorite map, Ascent.
Hey, it's the bread and butter of Valorant, right? It's, I'm going to be scared about the Odins. I'm not going to lie to you. But at the same time, on Ascent, you can't really find that space the same way you can on Lotus. Sure, you can go for that map control, but you can't really worm yourself around as much with the map being a lot smaller. You're going to find that contact earlier on, a little bit harder to hold those positions as well. And already knowing for the side of Carleton FE that Converse likes to do that, I'm hoping them to try and actually combat that early on if they are starting on that attacker side.
Yeah, so we'll look at a team that had a credible defensive scaling, and now have the chance to do the same when it comes to mid control, have the chance to do the same when it comes to cat, and then, well, lobbies are lobbies, in which, of course, that checkpoint trying to get out is going to, or that choke point, excuse me, is going to be a struggle to get out regardless. So we'll see if there's possibly a comp counter for Carleton just to try to force their way through a little bit faster as they start on the attack yet again. So we'll throw things over to our Xbox PC Game Pass Agent Select. Let's see what these two rosters look like, what they've got cooking going into map number 2.
Ooh, okay, already all locked in here on Carleton, and this is something we haven't seen them on up against Converse. On Lotus, Carleton started on the attacking side first. We only got to see 2 rounds from them on defense. So this is going to be our first look towards them. And that's also a little bit scary for Carleton because they're used to the Converse defense. Now you're going to have to adapt to how Converse is going to play on that attacking side. Ganch is also actually switching up from that race, heading over to the jet pick. Might see some opping coming out for that reason now, down towards those long angles.
Yeah, absolutely. Could be the look for the op. But man, it's going to be sad not having the paint shell grenade going into this one. The value that brought in map number 1 was something spectacular. Everything else in the comps line up quite nicely. Look at KOs for flashing agents. Look at Sova's for the recon, for the early information. Then, of course, that Sentinel presence, so phenomenal when it comes to the Killjoy.
But we're actually seeing a shift over. Previously, Tranquil was on the KJ pick over on Lotus. Now it's actually going to be Apple picking that up. So just some role swaps here. I know that the Carleton FE team is really flexible with their roles in that kind of sense. But even with the KJ stacked up here towards that A side, but Carleton, it's the complete opposite hit.
No wasted time for Gonchis. Just gonna dash through the alarm bot. Dark cover is already set up. No one's on site for Carleton, so that's gonna be a free trip into B. Plant already going to be underway here. It's retake patrol for round number 1.
Yeah, early plant to come in here for CVU. Carleton now onto that retake. It's a 5v5 situation, but early aggression for the first look, but it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Arctic Swing gonna net yet another 1-for-1 trade as Icy finally will net a numbers advantage. Paranoia will come through, but the frags come through just a bit quicker. Converse yet again will take their 3rd pistol now of the series.
Starting things off hot. Looking at the buy here coming in from the side of CVU. You've also got that Vandal that, okay, maybe actually swap him back to the Guardian. Gonna elect to actually go for that full shield. Not looking to get too risky with that. And again, it's the gamble stack over towards the A side. This time the read is good though, but they don't have the weaponry to actually face up.
Nothing off that early 0 point. That could be good information or bad information based on the 2 players already door and the 1 back of sight. The Omen caught first as Blitzen Arctic going to find more frags. Apple, the only player able to net 1 back. She's now been traded as well. That leaves us with nothing but Tranquil.
Yeah, 1v4 situation on the retake. You don't have too much to work with, and Gotch is just going to take that first look up on top of Scaffold and just take him down. Now, it's 2-0 to start things off here for Converse. Back into a bye round, though, for CU to have their full loadout going into this one. And some reinvestment going into Converse. Not too much at the end of the day. But again, continuous stacks towards the A side. This time, though, seeing Apple shift over into B, and Converse are looking to run it back.
0 point, we'll see if it nets a bit more info this time. Hasn't been thrown. 0 point's been tucked for Converse early. And that's created the interesting scenario into this one. Dark cover in first, drone gonna come through. All the nooks and crannies cleared early on the scale. For Converse, it's now they get their freeway into the A site. Carleton won't opt to contest.
Just chilling. Right now, Converse, they don't have any information over towards the B side of the map at the moment. Even with the lurk, but it doesn't matter when you already got a dash onto site from Baganches. Oh, okay, Tina goes big. Baganches trades it out.
Tina full blind, still picks up 2. Gonchis the trade back as mentioned, and that leads a 3-on-3 on site. Plant will come down, Jenny. See if they stall for time here on this retake. Door's already broken. Util's up. It's all about when Converse want to pull the trigger. Or Carleton, excuse me.
Yeah, Shockdar's try to delay right now. You got some nanos in towards tree, delay that push in from Aquinoxium.
Turret out.
And you got to try and clear out into hell as well. Wildfire playing solo in this situation. Actually might be a double up in hell. Yeah, just looking to play the cross. Retake trying to come through.
Aquino will pick up one. For another trade, we'll grab everything on that post plant. Forget the team, don't need them. KO's got it all. It's a 3-0 score line now for Converse.
A little bit difficult there. Didn't really have too much utility there for Carleton to actually try to re-clear into hell. You just got to jump down, hope that the frags do land, and Converse just coming out on top, 3-0 lead. Same kind of story that we saw from map number 1, continuing on with that momentum. And man, Gonches is just such an aggressive player, but it pans out so well because his mechanics are phenomenal. In fact, with the Guardian, you dash onto site, you trade out 2 teammates, is insane.
Yeah, we talk about confidence from players and how it can lead to overconfidence, but I mean, if you are able to shoot to back up the talk, hey, do what you will. Tranquil going to catch them early into this round, however. So it'll be trades one-on-one yet again. Deco team of Carleton going to benefit from them.
I like this position for Tina,
This
though.
would be so awkward.
I'd be so surprised if they do clear out. It's also tough because you are playing with a frenzy, but Cloudburst to provide cover still after a first point of contact.
No peek towards mid.
No!
That'll give room to walk behind here. It'll be 2 players on this flank for Carleton. That alarm bot can very much spoil the plans is the only thing, and it's done just that. It'll be icy on to the back angle. Plant's gonna go down in the meantime on site. Peek on its way, first converted. Dark cover means no trade for Aquino. Now Recon's here, Arctic will have the second. A beautiful play, a blossoming, but shut down early.
Broken door here. Recon to come out, but nobody's gonna get scanned up. Converse all tucked in at the moment, already down to a 1v4 situation. Icy's just gonna clean up now. 3K on the board here. Converse running away with a 4th.
They've taken the pistol the round after, and they've just kept the momentum flowing. We'll get a new friend into the match. First operator picked up in the series.
Looking forward to seeing what OK Tina can bring to the table here. The thing is, Converse haven't really been going for much mid-control, though, so we're not going to really see too much value, at least in this first initial pick, unless we see Converse rotating back over into B-Link. Right now, it looks like we're probably going to see that Paranoia play come through to take that B-main space early on, coming up from Converse. Might just be a straight-up B hit.
Launches in first. Couldn't quite. Cloud versus the Recon Apple. A nice shot. Continue to defend from the CT stair. Now down towards site. Double swing on its way. Lane. And Apple continues to convert. A 2-for-1 trade for her. Icy through the dark cover. Has 2 CT. And yet again, it's a player advantage for Converse.
Yeah, 2v3 on this retake situation, though, really doable. You got to look at the utility online as well. This Paranoia to clear out the close angle could be super helpful. And this might just catch Icy off guard, but not caught.
Hans and Aquino have opened the door here. Let's a 1v2 known about thanks to the 0 point. Call on the back of the boathouse, forced to step forward. The Molly does its job. Hans will convert, and Carleton on the scoreboard.
Really nice coordinated play coming out from Carleton, finding a round earlier than we saw on Lotus as well, trying to stifle that momentum that Converse is building earlier on. Full loadout still to come through here. However, into this next hold, what could be a possible swing round to continue the upswing up, try to continue whittling down the economy of Converse, would be the ults that we have online and almost online. You've got a recipe for a retake or for a complete stall with the Hunter's Fury and the lockdown. And if Hans can get the null command online, that could be a total game changer here for the side of Carleton. And this is a very different look. First 4 rounds, Carleton adjusted appropriately in the 5th. Now CVU looking to slow things down a little bit. Play that default instead of playing the burst execute that we had previously seen.
That work up mid has already expended the alarm bot. Dark cover gonna come through to try to slow this push down. Music Gone just can't safely make it out of market. So contained in mid for the moment being. Still has pulled Tina down on the early rotation.
This wraparound, though, in towards market could be really big to try to catch out the player already pushed up. Gonch's taken down early, sure. The trade does come through, but Gonch's is the opener here for CVU on site.
It's just the Omen left when it comes to the A site. Those early rotations from mid-market certainly pulled defensive presence. A dark cover. I mean, there's no easy look from Akano, and they'll know that, so aren't going to opt to peek anything through door here. I mean, Plant will go down, be 4-on-4 for the retake. Ult's up for both sides.
Ult's up. You got the Hunter's Fury coming down, but Plant's already been done, trying to clear out into Jenny at the very least. But you don't have anyone actually pushing up towards Scaffold, funneling in through Tree to actually take advantage, trying to just cause chaos onto the site, and the hold is huge.
That it is, just Tranquil left now, scaffolding, and gone justice, I say it. Blitz will have it, and Converse strong on the post plant. 4-on-4 going in, 4-on-0 coming out.
I really like Gonch's hat. I'm not gonna lie. You see that creeper hat going on right now? I can't lie, that's pretty fire. So is the gameplay that we're seeing, but again, timeout to be called here. I think what's really interesting is also for Carleton, you've got OK Tina as the IGL, right? And leading from the front very much. So as that duelist, as being that entry or first point of contact presence, it's a lot to be on your have on your plate, and the fact that she's still able to perform while doing that duty as well, I think does attest to her skill level in that kind of sense. But you gotta have a conversation at this point. Kat, what do you think they're talking about?
Do you want a real answer? Or do you want... I hate when you want a real answer.
What does that mean? That's what we're here to do.
That's fair, that's fair, that's fair. It's a conversation of how do we contain this team, right? On the defensive end, how do we deny them early space? They got to walk in towards mid. The look towards deny was to bring 2 players over. It started gaining them picks. Too many traded, though, which brought it back to 4-on-4. And at the end of the round, they still got space over to what ended up being just a single player contesting, which was over to the ace site. So did we rotate too early? Do we need to throw extra utility instead of bodies? I think that's the conversation.
It's fair. Round already started, though, here. Opening pick over towards the side of CVU. Once again, Gonch is just constantly going for these fights, trying to get the frags down. Right now, just playing a bit more chaotic, not as structured, and a really great punishment coming out from Apple.
Great backstep to set up that look. Wildfire was traded back, though. So still 2-player advantage. A lot more aggressive look early defensively for Carleton. Is Eco, though, so nothing really to mention of it. IC going to pick up Tranquil, and a 1-on-4. Converse looking for their 6th round now.
Nice recon up in towards Heaven, though. Aquanoctium, there's no way you're getting out of this. There's not even really an opportunity to try and find too much, because you've got CVU just hunting for you all over the place, like a pack of dogs sniffing for their prey. And that's another round onto the board here for CVU. Buy to come back out here from Carleton. Again, investment going into the operator. We just haven't seen too much action from it. CVU's done honestly well to dodge it for the most part.
Yeah, they play so slow, and then in the moments where they do look to take space, it's almost always off of utility. In the instances where we do see them scale A, which they're looking for into this round, it's a wait for the 0 point. Once it's cleared, it's always coming through a drone under the duck cover to make sure we have information, a 0 point of their own, and then flashes towards site. There's never a good look for the operator. In the moments that there are, it's a retake, and we know how unvaluable that gun can be when it comes to a retake.
Definitely makes it really difficult for you to clear out space, having to scope in. But then Ultimate, again, popped here by Wildfire. Seems to be the preference towards that A side, but gets shut down. Spike still not quite planted yet. That tree door broken very early on.
I see this flank. Gonna pick up one solid barrel of another. Knows about Apple, looking to contain this early. They've done just that. Let's get involved at a door. Finally, the KO kill converted.
Oh,
Outflick so close, but not quite. Blitz will have the frag. Instead, it's a 7th round now for the Valkyries.
Unfortunate investment also came out there from Carleton FE with the null command going back into the retake. Now, back onto an eco here. The only thing to look at if you're CU is going to be the From the Shadows available there from Akonoctium for maybe a potential solo play, just some information. But I want to look back towards CVU. Right now, scoreboard is up right now. Wildfire, 10 assists at the moment. And that just tells you about how he's just been able to set up for Gonches, for other players to take that space, find their way in. That's disgusting. That's actually gross.
Gonches over the top. We'll find Apple early. The B site crumbles with yet one frag. There'll be retake for Carleton yet again. Gonches looking for a bit more. Wildfire for the bailout. We'll find both the final frags in the defender spawn. 8-1. It's a flawless anti-eco.
It's somehow a flawless. Gotcha's almost sold that one at the end, at least for the title of the round's end. But like I mentioned, when you've got Gonches on the team, there's the flexibility. CVU, we've seen how they're able to slow things down, but Gonches loves to run in, and CVU are really good at setting him up to do so, just allowing him to take that space super aggressively. But then, like I mentioned, over the past, semester and whatnot, they've really worked on pulling things back in as well, knowing when to draw back to find success in rounds.
He's back.
No.
He'll pick up one. Apple a trade. Octia through the dark cover as well. The trade's in the favor of Carleton in this round. Blitz will ult to the back of the site. I believe the 0 point does suppress the Sova here in B main, so a bit of stall time. IC will be known about thanks to the alarm bot. A bit of a predicament for the offensive side.
Honestly, what I would like to see is maybe trying to scale back over towards that A side. But
I don't think they know about Blitz.
You don't think that? I mean, it doesn't seem like they don't.
Blitz gonna pick up one. A second coming through that dark cover as Arctic opens the door in B main. And IC will close it just as quickly. 9-1 your scoreline.
I honestly thought that in that moment that Carleton maybe heard Blitz going back into back site there in towards Boathouse. And that's why we're seeing the stack over into B. But now, 9-1 here. 2 more rounds left into this half. Again, based on this positioning, looks like CVU looking to slow things down. After going for a few fast rounds, they're just running that cycle back over and over.
A much heavier lean on the B side. Can't blame him. He's been incredibly assaulted in the last 2 rounds by the likes of Gonches. Much slower round, though.
Tempo's just slowing down. I feel like that's just what CVU is doing really, really well. Blitz always taking this upper angle that we've seen in favor over the past couple months here on Ascent, just to deny that early A main push. But right now, CFE, they're not taking the bait for anything at the moment. Still leaning pretty heavily over towards that B side with the lack of presence. But the Owl drone is enough to pull at minimum 3, maybe 4 members of CU over.
Yeah, and that's really the value of slowing down that tempo.
Yep.
The fact that when they do make contact, they are in the site seconds after, and it's forced this team to move away. The only thing is that effect does not last long. This defense going to start to reset as they haven't seen the rest of the execution. They still have some space to be made, and God's just looking to make that space. Paranoia does not catch. Flash will. Awkward for Apple, and Gonches will clean that up easily. That site picked up. From the shadows, stuck! And that's going to catch the Omen. Splits will find another. Ice to get involved as well, and at least 2 for Carleton. Now just the 1, and it's a flawless round yet again for Converse.
10-1. Again, everything really important here. CUFE have to get this next round. It's going to be a bit of an awkward buy-up, but we don't want to see that 11-1 scoreline again. Seeing it end off on that pistol, seeing CUFE maybe take another round here into map number 2. But the synergy, the fact that the conditioning has just come through for CVU so well up against Carleton FE is making it really difficult for those reads and always investing more bodies than necessary because they have to get those trades down.
Yep. Blitz will line them up and gun them down. Hans and Actina both caught early deep gelato. And man, that round looking difficult to try to come back and convert now. Gonchis gonna step through. Oh, a clean flick from Tranquil. We'll catch the head of Gonchis. Things starting to be reeled back. A very low omen for Converse as well. They slow scale their way into the A site. Plant will for sure come down. A lot of time for this post plant and a null command to solidify that time.
Hunter's Fury comes out once again. In towards underneath Hell, but again, it's nobody really capitalizing off of people actually trying to rush out of that space right now. It's just utility kind of being thrown and you're not really finding any success. Honestly, I think it would have been really nice to see that Hunter's Fury saved in to try and clear out into Wine, into A main, but look at this push in. Icy with the flank completely destroys lockdown. Now it's a 1v3.
Icy going to pick up it all, but the target acquisition so impressive there. The look for the first, and as opposed to going for the 2 frags, a look to shut down the ult, and then to come back in to the firefights guarantees all that presence, even if they aren't able to win those fights.
Icy's 15-1 right now. Absolutely insane coming out from the Killjoy on your team. And got a little bit of a replay to go through as we take that look, but it's just the discipline when it comes down to that. Icy, you know that they do have that experience in the tier 2 scene within collegiate, but I also recognize the scene, I'm pretty sure, in Game Changers as well, so should be familiar as well with the players on Carleton, at least ones who have competed into those events.
Oh, Gonch is going to pick up the first 2 off the dark cover. The Paranoia lays out the red carpet. And Carleton left reeling. We're going to take this one quickly. That's really forced the tempo to slow quite a bit here. A drone and still on the angle. Hasn't moved a muscle. Confident in the firepower behind the Sheriff. On them. Definitely known about. Left to the woodwork. Teammate not even peeking. Gotcha somehow still alive. Will reload in the open, and Apple finally will take a bite. Gotchas will fall. Wildfire trade. Off the pop flash, and a 2-on-4 now.
It's always nice. Wildfire always there to try to follow up in that situation. The 2v4 though, it's just gonna be the push out. You got the recon to come through. Blitz just gonna shoot through that dark cover, and now match point here on the side of Converse. Once again, 12-1.
100% pistol win rate for Converse in this series. They've won all 4. They've only been 4, so the math is mathing.
The math is mathing, and it's a force-up that you've got to see coming out from CUFE. Heavy lean here towards that B side, trying to take the closer quarters, knowing that they are mostly on a stinger buy. Trying to force those closer angles that you can't really garner over on toward A. But still, the weaker buy up by far. Gonch is already into B-Link.
Gonch is powered by a motor. We'll pick up Tina. Apple, a nice trade. It's a deep stinger frag too. Paranoia just barely misses Gonchis here. Is able to find another Apple to trade yet again, as Blitz now looks to get involved. Pop flash from Wildfire going to blind players. We'll pick up a look off the Sheriff as well. A 1v2 could be the difference here in this one. Shots traded. Icy will pick it up. It's 13-1 both maps. Converse start the day 2-0.
First round of the group stages here in GSL already wrapped up here for Converse Purple and Carleton FE over down into Group C. And what a match there. Converse looking really, really good. You can see though still on the stage right now, Carleton FE, vibes are still high. Maybe a little bit of frustration that they're expressing with each other where they're like, oh, we could have had this round kind of vibe. But these girls are really here for the experience to prove themselves in that kind of sense. And it's just nice to see the vibes are still high.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to see them a little bit later today as well in the Paydia Cup Finals. Whatever roster ends up taking off against them a little bit later. It's great to see these Converse guys looking as good as they did. A roster that's bringing 2 players in from their bout in the Peach Belt Conference where they did maintain their bid. The fact that they've looked so good on stage, bringing those 2 players back in, the synergy looks like it never left.
No, it definitely doesn't. And you were even looking at the stats over while we were on a little bit of a break there as far as how Ascent looks for Converse. And despite the fact that they're pretty close to about a 50% mark on their win rate right now, back with their old roster, they were looking really hot on Ascent, and they just ran that back.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that this team looked so good, and the fact that they still look this good several months later, what is now 5 months later from when they did have that 3-4 win rate, is quite impressive for them. But don't hear it from me, hear it from them. Let's toss it down to Paulie Hype with the interview post-match.
Thank you so much. We are here with Arctic from Converse University. Congratulations, Converse. They just won their first match against a very high regard. The story of that match didn't tell the true story. Paydia Gaming flew out an amazing all-women's team. How does it feel to win and compete right here on this stage at the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup?
I mean, this stage is amazing. Getting here, knowing that our first match was going to be on stage, we were ecstatic and loved being able to see the crowd and all the lights in your face.
Sure. Now, you're on scholarship at Converse University?
Yes, I am.
How does it feel like that you get to tell people at home watching the stream that you're a scholarship player competing in esports and representing your college? How does that feel?
It's great because it almost more legitimizes playing and competing anyways. And being able to go home and be like, yeah, I get to play 8 hours a day to practice and get better at my craft is great and fun. And I think, most of my family supports it because of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this is Arctic from Converse University. Give the people any final words before we head out.
Hey, look, we're here to win this tournament, and people might be counting us out, but we've got no practice, and we're going to show you we're still better without it.
Let's go. Converse University takes the first game of the day. When we come back, we'll have more Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup. Analyst Desk, back to you.
No practice, huh? No practice, and he's still here to take the title. I mean, that's a bold claim. That is certainly a bold claim, but they have the stats to back it up. 13-1, 13-1. Yeah. Did anything really change in between Ascent and Lotus, Compers?
No, I really don't think it did. I did feel like there was a bit more of a fight down in the early games, but as, again, we started to transition over past that attacking side for Converse, then Carleton now kind of diverting to attacking. They barely had a chance to really show their second half. So I felt like it was a little unfortunate, I got to be honest with you, because they didn't get the chance to show one of their best sides that we saw, of course, leaning down towards Lotus, but I mean, that's how the game is. It really was, again, Gaunch. Like, I don't know what that kid ate today, but he ate something.
I mean, there's not much more you can say. Gaunch was in there every single round we were watching this Jet player. It felt like a highlight reel anytime the observer jumped onto them. And I mean, you just got to throw up respect to that, right? But also, there were some moments where we saw that Carleton was respecting the play and doing a little bit of an off-site defensive system, allowing for the retake. Arctic, could you tell me a little bit about what you saw and maybe some thoughts in that?
Well, playing for retake sometimes is the best way to go about it when you're not as confident in your ability, your util usage or placement, and so you choose to instead rely on getting intel and backing off and waiting for your team to be there instead of focusing on getting trades. Because if you trade, yeah, you're going 1-for-1 with an enemy team, but then you're then relying on everyone else on your team to either get a double kill or they themselves get a trade, and you are basically putting yourself in a last-ditch safety net situation, whereas going into a 5-on-5, you have the most equal opportunity to gain intel. And with that being said, not using utility too soon allows for additional retake opportunities for that util, but I honestly think that the one thing that set Converse apart in this situation was their duality in their util. They weren't just one person using one thing. They were actually working together when they're using abilities to gain as much info and prevent info from being given out over to the side of Carleton.
Yeah, keeping things a secret until they certainly weren't. But, you know, Carleton isn't done. They're still going to be into the lower bracket, and they're also going to be competing in the Paidia Cup later on today. And, Chicks, I was wondering, like, what do you think are some lessons that they could take away and maybe improve their performance so this is still a successful day for the team?
Yeah, like any series in any game, you take each one as it is. We said this is a double elim, so they need to look towards their next series, kind of brush this one off, not let it get to their mental, because they do have a lot to be here for. And at the end of the day, if they don't do that well in the Commissioner's Cup today, then you know what? Look towards Paidia as well, because they have another opportunity to play. They have a lot to be here for. They should just take all those opportunities and learn from it as they go. And I think they'll improve at the end of the day positively.
Okay, well, back to the team that's going to continue on the upper bracket. They're going to be heading over to potentially compete against, I believe, U.S. Army Esports or West Point versus OC Esports. And someone you got to check out when it gets to that point is Gonch. I mean, just look at this. Absolute Chad with the 301 ACS had the creeper headband, I believe, as well on stage.
He was dripped out. You got to give him some cred, man. He came here. He said, "I'm at LAN. I'm on a camera. I gotta let the ladies know that I'm a Minecraft."
Do you think that gives you a buff in game, Converse?
I think it gives you a buff everywhere. I think you walk out of the house with that, you're instantly better than everyone else.
Well, certainly a point proven, point taken, Gonch. With one of my favorite stats, obviously, got to be the 11 first bloods, but also at the same time, bringing in 17 assists. I don't even know how you could put up numbers and still bring assists into this server.
Well, I mean, I guess it does make sense as well, because, oh man, it really doesn't. He was playing the Duelist. Like, how is he cracking out on this? Like, first it's just consistent top fragging, and then consistent entries. We saw the updraft come through the tailwind to come all the way towards backside there on B, and then free pick. Like, it's crazy to see that Gonchus is not only capable of just the consistent frags, you know, getting some really nice stats in, but then also at the same time being able to push themselves towards assisting the team all the while. So it's, I mean, if entries count as assists, I agree. So.
You know, I think, yeah, I guess an assist the round win, right? Every kill is an assist. You would see that. And, you know, there were some good moments. I want to talk back to Carleton, where they were trying to emulate that same forward play that we saw Converse bringing to the table. Tina dashing into mid-site, trying to take those fights, but it just felt like they weren't hitting the mark. Artie, why do you think that wasn't exactly the case?
I think it came down to just experience in those situations. We discussed earlier on Lotus how the side of Converse really likes to change up their positioning constantly, so that you can't just always check one corner and anticipate the same person to be there. They're not going to be. However, there wasn't as much variation coming out from Carleton, and so it made anticipating where they're going, getting ready to line up the flick, a lot easier for the side of Converse on both attack and defense.
I mean, we definitely had an improvement. Sad to say, the scoreline didn't exactly reflect the adjustments that Carleton was able to put, but just looking at the scoreboard, I mean, Chixa, we could see that there is a change. What do you think about just the, I would say, adjustments, the improvements, the small ones, if they are that, in between these two maps?
In particular for Tina being that duelist role, we mentioned it earlier, I think she had improvement from game to game. She'll continue to need to improve. We also mentioned, I heard Ash say she's their in-game leader. That's a really tough position to be in that duelist role, and I wonder if that's what also is kind of setting that team back, not allowing her to open up and have that entry play that's needed out of her role. At the end of the day, if she's the one to do it, then she needs to step up there and do it, but also still manage her role on the field. And on the other side of Converse, I mean, keep doing what you're doing. You can't fix what isn't broken. Clearly right now, they're playing it beautifully, and even Gonchus at the end of the day, not the highest kill rate, but still has that highest level of affecting the field from game to game.
Yeah, and you know, again, kind of following off your point there, when you talk about the duelist being the IGL, it really does cause a lot of problems. Like, you have your own thought process. You can't be thinking all the while of what's going on while you're also trying to create space, while you're also being there to be that main factor as to why your team's on the site in the first place. You need somebody who's in the back line, somebody who's not focusing too much on everything going on all at once so that you can get a nice established entry in, and then also all the while use your own utility to help the team. Because as a duelist, you're playing for yourself and you're playing to make sure you stay alive during those entry points so that you can clear the site. And if you're not staying alive, so that you can at least get that information for your team to pursue something else. So yeah, I mean, like you said, that really is, you know, a very, very good point.
Yeah, well, respect to Carleton for fighting and struggling with those difficulties and still being here on this stage performing. And of course, congratulations to Converse. They'll be moving through the upper bracket, but we're going to head to a quick break. And when we come back, it'll be the first segment of the EsportsU Collegiate Esports Awards. But before we go, fast track your Valorant game with the PC Game Pass. Members unlock all current agents, get a 20% XP boost with the Battle Pass, Event Pass, and active agent contract progress. Plus, get day one access to every new agent right when they come out. I got Gecko for the free ski because of Game Pass. I'm not trying to unlock that contract. Anyways, we'll see you in just a bit to continue the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup right after this.